The Colorado Buffaloes are starting fall camp. Who is standing out? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Joining me today, Jack Carlough. Don't call him Jack Carlough because that's not his name. It's with a C, not an H, over from Colorado on SI. Jack, I appreciate you hopping on. It's exciting because football's coming, right? It felt like the offseason lasted 2 years, and now we're about a month away from Colorado's first game. So excited to have you and excited to talk about some fall camp standouts. I mean, I feel like we should just dive right into it. Who do you think is standing out? Who have you heard about? Let's talk about it.
Just from there are now 3 practices in. They started Tuesday. Today was the third practice. Omarion Miller is definitely the first name that comes to mind. Some of his highlight catches have been insane. There was a one-on-one rep. I forget who posted it, but he beat DJ McKinney in the end zone. That was really impressive to me. Looks like he's building a good connection with Julian Lewis. Writing a story about that right now, so that'll be it later.
We'll tease it.
Yes, just teasing a little bit. Other than that, I mean, we heard from Carter Stoutmeyer yesterday, and he was saying how the run game was looking a lot better. Looks like they got the better of the offense or the defense on Wednesday. So guys like Micah Welch, Dallin Hayden. I'm super high on Micah Welch right now. I haven't seen too many highlight plays yet from what we've seen through 3 practices, but expecting a big year from him. Other standouts, Julian Lewis has honestly looked really good. It looks like he's kind of a step above what he was in the spring.
Good. Okay.
Looked like he had a really good summer just with his trainers and getting bigger. Everyone looks way bigger too. That's huge.
I think physicality is like one of the biggest things you need in college football in general to succeed. But when you want to contend at the highest level, you got to be big, you got to be physical. And I noticed the same thing. The offensive lineman, I think the most obvious transformation was Jordan Seaton. He was listed at 285 last year, and he's still listed at the same, but I would have to guess he's probably around that 305, 310 range. Where he's a little bigger. And then also, I like that you brought up the running backs because there was a video I saw, and I can't really tell who the running back is. I think it's Dallin Hayden.
I know the one you're talking about.
Where he fights through probably 5 people to get into the end zone. And I literally tweeted, I was like, great rep, because the initial post was about the right tackle. And I was like, great rep, but have we ever seen a running back turn those legs like that? Because the Colorado run game has been non-existent for the past 2 years, right? They don't have a single person who's rushed for 100 yards in a game, and I don't even think they've had anyone who's rushed for 400 yards on the season. So We're really trying to turn that around. I'm glad you mentioned Omarion Miller because he's a guy that I think his first 2 years sort of just fell behind like a veteran group of receivers. Like year 1, it was Jimmy Horn, Travis Hunter, Xavier Weaver. Last year it was LeJounte Wester, Jimmy Horn, Travis Hunter, and he was always like that odd guy out. He'd come in for one game, explode, and then obviously I think injury last year, and I think he got injured both years actually, if I'm not mistaken. So
first year.
So I think it's now his time to shine for the offense. In terms of defense, I like that you brought up DJ McKinney because we at Locked On released our top 100 college football player rankings, and Mr. McKinney got the nod. He was in the top 100 at number 87, which I feel like it could have been higher. I think I had him higher, but obviously when it's factored in with hundreds of other people, it kind of mixes up. But I think he's going to be really good. Let's talk about the defense. Has there been anyone that's caught your eye defensively?
London Merritt just wrote a story in freshman defensive end. He had a crazy interception yesterday on like a tip drill, kind of swatted pass. That was really encouraging to see. Linebacker room, that's still kind of, you think I like Martavius French. Too much in terms of highlights yet, but I'm kind of looking to him to take a step forward. It's like Kaidon Salter's brother, Kylan Salter, is getting a little bit buzz here early.
Okay.
He looks bigger than he did, at least when he first transferred in.
Nice.
Again, shout out to Coach Swayze there. No, I think that whole like defensive front is going to be really stacked. Anquin Barnes, I think Robert Livingston mentioned him yesterday. Quincy Wiggins is another guy who didn't see like a ton of playing time last year, but I think he's going to step up big this year. Also, just kind of going through the defense. Secondary, Tawfiq Bayard, he had a really good spring game.
Yeah,
I think he's probably going to lock down on those starting safety spots. And yeah, kind of cornerback besides DJ McKinney is still kind of, I feel like, a little bit of a competition. Not 100% sure who will start.
Okay, let's talk about who's in the mix there, because obviously we have DJ McKinney spot lockdown, right? I would say Preston Hodge is going to be somewhere. Preston Hodge is going to be somewhere around there. But who's vying for that other spot?
I kind of like Tyresis. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Tyresis Davis. He's the transfer from Wyoming.
Veteran guy.
And then there's the transfer from Oklahoma who had a heart surgery. His name
Makari Vickers.
Makari Vickers, yeah. Have you seen any videos of him practicing yet? I haven't seen.
I have not. It's hard, and the hard part for me too is they have their social media handles on, and I'm terrible with numbers, like in general. Like I unless it's like LeBron James or Michael Jordan, for the most part, like I'm not like recall's not there for numbers. So like when I'm watching these videos, I'm like pausing. I'm like, okay, number 95 is. Yeah. So I haven't seen his number, and then it also doesn't help me that they have their social media handles because I don't know any of their social media handles by heart. So no, Makari Vickers is a name that I was hoping to look out for. That surgery kind of scared me a little bit because obviously pretty big surgery to have. But yeah, I think the corner spots, it's interesting because I think we mostly just assumed going into the year was like Colton Hood's going to be that guy, and then he leaves. Right? And then RJ Johnson, I feel like was supposed to be that next guy. And from what I'm gathering and what you're saying, I don't feel like he's like locked down that spot yet. Would you agree with that?
I mean, he had a really good spring, but I would still like to see him kind of carry that over till the fall a little bit. I think there's one highlight. I guess it's like hard to like point out like single plays. I don't want to like in one play. I think he got beat on one play, but you can't. I mean, one-on-one reps, like you can't.
One-on-one reps are probably the worst like representation for a corner, just because it's like you really have no sort of, the quarterback's just sitting there patting the ball. The receiver can pretty much do whatever he wants, and you're just out there on an island. But yeah, I think RJ Johnson has potential. I think the when I think of standouts for this Colorado team, like who I'm hoping to hear about, and I'll get to this in a little bit. A guy like Anquin Barnes, who you mentioned, because like obviously big body dude who came from Alabama, who I think just needed an opportunity. Quincy Wiggins is another good name that you brought up because he got the green dot during the spring game, which means he was calling the plays. So the coaches obviously saw something in him to sort of step into a leadership role. And then I'm also curious because I think they have such a embarrassment of riches there, the edge rushing position, right? You have Arden Walker, Keaton Wade, Sam Kunalola. Like they have so many guys. Like who's going to set themselves apart? Do you think there's been any separation there yet or no?
Arden Walker is probably the dude in that room.
Okay.
Like one guy above the rest.
Okay.
Just from based on like what everything like coaches have saying. I think Coach Livingston talked about him a little bit yesterday too. Just really, even like in terms of like leadership, I think he's really stepping up in that room. You'll probably be taking the first defensive snaps against Georgia Tech. But also excited to see Sam Okunlola as well. I think he's going to have a really good year. And they're deep at that position and really across the whole defensive line. I could see them, very well leading the Big 12 in sacks again.
I said the same thing. That was one of my hot takes on the year. I had 3 hot takes that I offered up for Colorado. One of them was that they lead the Big 12 in sacks. Another was that they beat 2 ranked opponents. I think I could see it happening. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth games in the Big 12. That's just the nature of the conference. And then my third one, I don't remember what it was. Oh, I think it was Kaidon Salter will be Colorado's first 100-yard rusher.
Ooh.
under Deion Sanders. Yeah,
I like that.
Because he's had a handful of those games at Liberty where he's rushed for 100+ yards. Do you think he's pulling away from Julian Lewis? Do you think he's a starter? Or do you think there's work to be done?
I mean, coming into fall camp, I think Kaidon Salter was definitely the expected starter, but again, based on just highlight videos that we've seen, Julian looks really good. Maybe it's closer than I thought.
That's the hard part because on the videos, I'm like pausing. I'm like, okay, who is he working with? Like, who are the offensive linemen that are blocking here? Who are the receivers that are on the field? So these have been the standouts. We've kind of been all over the place here, but that's okay because Colorado is covered in a very non-traditional way where it's like most programs across the country have like an open period of practice where it's like, okay, the media, you are able to go watch for say an hour, right? And Colorado's not always necessarily like that. Would you agree?
Yeah, we don't really get to watch practices. No.
Right. So you kind of we're solely relying on well-off media videos. I forget Neely's video.
The pregame show.
Thank you. The pregame show. Thank you. I could not think of it. Right. Yeah. So we're kind of relying on those, which I mean, I think is smart for them because it obviously boosts their brand, but it makes it difficult to really evaluate things because it's like we only see what they want us to see, which I mean, that seems very old school of Coach Prime, which even though he's like a very new school mindset, there's a lot of old school things that he does. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to name 3 players that each of us are buying stock in this upcoming season to be stars or impact player for the Colorado Buffaloes. But first, a quick break. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Drip Drop. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts, and that's where Drip Drop comes in. Drip Drop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. So, right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. It's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before that heat hits hard. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on any of the coverage because college football season is coming up. And I think Colorado has a lot of exciting players this year, as they did last year. But something that stood out to me at Big 12 Media Days was when Deion Sanders said, we don't have the star power, but this team is much better than last year's. Last year's team went 9-4 for those of you who don't remember. And I think they were a better game away against Kansas from probably at least having a chance to make the playoff. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Even the Kansas State game too was super
close.
That one.
Yeah. So they were about, we'll say 7 plays away from possibly being a playoff team. So let's talk about the stock market. Just kidding. We're going to talk about people who we are buying stock in. So what we mean by that is players who we're confident in. So I'll get the ball rolling. This is a guy who I think you buy low right now. I don't know what his price would be on the stock market, but Jaheim Otis. Every time I talk to someone from Alabama, they say he's an All-American potential. It just needs to be brought out of him, right? He just needs to find that motivation. He just needs to find that extra oomph from a coach. And I've said this, and I think a lot of people get upset with this statement, but it's not meant to be a shot at the guy. But if you can't find that motivation with Coach Pecco and Coach Warren Sapp, I don't know if you ever will. So I imagine having 2 inspiring, really well-minded coaches working with you, I imagine that brings the best out of you. And I think that's someone who I'd buy stock in. Jack, who you buying stock in?
I'm going to go on the other side of the line, Larry Johnson.
Okay.
Right tackle. We talked about that highlight run play earlier, and he was the right tackle there.
Right.
Had a really good rep. I think buying stock on him to be the starting right tackle. Phillip Houston also is in the mix, of course. But like how Larry Johnson is looking so far out of Tennessee.
Yeah. He offers size, and that was I think there was like a common trend this offseason in their offensive line additions. It was like most of them felt like they came from an SEC school or a Big Ten school, and they were all abnormally large, right? They're not the Colorado offensive line of 2023 where the average weight was like, what was it, like 285 pounds? Like I feel like this year it's going to be in the 300s. There's going to be some beef. Xavier Hill's another guy that I'm excited for on that line, but I don't think there's a reason to buy stock in him because I feel like he's like a solidified thing, right? I think it's just like we expect him to be good, right? So my next guy is Zach Atkins, the tight end. Colorado has not had a tight end that's complete, right? Year 1 under Coach Prime, it was Mikey. He was more of a big-bodied receiver that they played at tight end, I think is a fair way to put it. Last year, they didn't have a tight end at all. They trotted out Savell Smalls, who I admire the effort. I admire the willingness to switch positions as a former 5-star, but I don't think it worked out in the way that they had hoped. And it was just obvious that their tight end was never a threat. I think Zach Atkins brings a little bit of everything that this offense needs. He could be a security blanket. make some big catches during the spring game. I think he only had one catch, but on his one catch, he like stiff armed a defender into the ground, and for like a 20-yard gain. So I was like, that's what they've been missing: a guy over the middle who can make plays, yards after the catch. And so that's why I'm buying some stock in Zach Atkins. Who's your next guy?
Like that. I'm gonna go Tawfiq Bayard, safety.
Okay.
Him too. Yesterday at media as well, you got a comparison to Cam Silman-Craig. If he's even half as important as Cam Silman-Craig was last year, I think that's really big. Yeah, he had a really good spring game, and I think he can really just fit in perfectly with that secondary just in terms of leadership. I'm excited about him and see how he works kind of with like Carter Stoutmeyer, Preston Hodge. I think Tawfiq Bayard is going to be really solid in the secondary at safety. Yeah,
I interviewed him. I want to say it was a little bit after he committed, and he talked about how he wanted to be a leader on this team. And I think, and he even said this, like, he's like, I'm not one of those guys that just says things and like it doesn't mean anything. Like, he's like, I do want to be a leader. He's like, but that's obviously something earned. And I feel like when we hear the coaches talk about the defense, or we like leadership wise or just in general, his name pops up a lot. So I like that pick. I'm going to let you go again. We'll go a little snake draft right now because I don't want us to have the same third person. So who do you have for your third person?
I want to go a different route. Maybe I'm going to go someone completely. I'm going to go Buck Buchanan, the new.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm going to go
for people too.
Just from like what Coach Prime was saying, like in spring camp, his ability to actually get touchbacks on kickoffs, I think that's going to be really big for the special teams.
Okay.
That was a huge issue really last year. And I think that will just change the entire special teams outlook. Maybe Alejandro Mata will take, some of those shorter field goals and obviously the extra points. Maybe Buck Buchanan could help out with, those 50+ yard field goals. I think that'll be huge for the offense this year. Excited about that.
That's a great point, because honestly, Colorado last year, you really had to get within 40 yards for a field goal to be possible. Like anything beyond that, it was a coin flip at best, right? So getting to a certain point on the field where you're like, okay, we now know that regardless of how this drive goes, we are still in a position to score. So I like that pick. That's a very, I feel like, niche but necessary pick, and I'm all there for it. I'm gonna go. I'll go niche but necessary as well, just to continue with the trend. Oh gosh, I feel like this is. I don't know if this is niche. I guess I feel like it's hard to go niche after a kicker, but I'm gonna go with center Zarian McGill. Okay, I feel like the offense line obviously a big problem throughout the Coach Prime era, and then they find a guy in Cash Cleveland, and it was like cool. Like we find Jordan Seed and Cash Cleveland. Really good duo to build around. We'll see what happens as they move forward. And then obviously the oil tycoon over there at Texas Tech had a different idea for Mr. Cash Cleveland, which, I mean, I'm not mad at the guy for chasing a better opportunity for his career. I don't think he was on scholarship yet.
No.
And obviously I think there was a little financial compensation that came along with that move. But I think Colorado went out, and I don't want to say they upgraded because I don't want to shoot down Cash, but I do think that they have a player that can play at a higher level in Zarian McGill. And I think what was it? The Texas Tech game where Hank Zelinkas like fell apart and was like snapping the ball off Shador's chest when he wasn't looking. Like, I think just having certainty at center, having a little bit beef there, a little confidence in the middle, I think that goes a long way for the offense. And some other players look out. I liked your Wyoming transfer mention, because I do feel like he's a good one. I've heard some high things or some good things about Terrence Love, the Auburn transfer. I drew our Auburn guy he told us, think of like Colton Hood, where Colton Hood at Auburn was like the standout of their spring or camp practice or their spring practices. And then he decided to transfer, right? That's how they felt about Terrence Love, where it was like, this will be the time for him. So maybe he goes in there, and I don't know if he starts right away at safety, because I feel like it's Carter and Tawfiq, but obviously I'd be willing to bet an ungodly amount of money that every college football team in the country will not have the same starting lineup week 1 as they do week 12, because that's just how things work.
Yes.
So those are the guys that we're buying stock in. If you guys want to add someone, drop it in the comments below. When we come back, we're going to talk about Coach Prime's return from his obviously secret battle with cancer that he beat, and just what that means for the program. because Jack was there. Jack got a shout out that day as well. And so we're going to talk about it all. But first, quick break. This episode of Locked on Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. If you ever need tickets to a sporting event, concert, whatever it is, Game Time is the place to do it. We've all been there. We log on early. We're waiting for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see, whether it's Coldplay with a special lady. You never know. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with stress of ticket shopping, and that's where Game Time comes in. If you're tired of endless scrolling to find the best deal, Game Time's Zone Deals pick have the best seats in your section for you. If you ever wonder what your seat will actually look like, it'll show you that too with the panoramic seat view. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. It's Kevin Borba. It's Jack Carlough. I almost said Jack Harlow out of. How often do you get Harlow?
A lot.
A lot, yeah. Does it bother you?
No, it's just because I say it so quickly, Jack Carlough. It sounds like an age.
I mean, it could be worse, right? There could be worse names to be called. So I feel like a pretty good rapper is not like the end of the world, if I could say so. Most people just can't say my last name, which is weird because it's not special. I'm like it is what it looks like. Like it's not cultural. It's not like very exciting. It's just boring, right? So
I like it. I think it sounds good.
Appreciate that. Let's talk about something that is exciting. That's not our names, but probably one of the biggest names in college football, Deion Sanders. There was a lot of mystery around him this offseason, right? He's at the spring game, and then he goes back to Texas for the draft, which was, I want to say about a week-ish after the spring game. We'll call it, or a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then we never really see from him again, right? He pops up on the Asante Samuel, podcast and says, I'm sick. It made me lose 14 pounds. And everyone's like, oh, that's weird. And then we don't get any updates, right? And so then just carries on throughout the off season. And then they announce a meeting with the media on Monday with his doctor, not just the trainer, Lauren Askewald, but a doctor. And we don't know what kind of doctor it is until we get there and see the little card with her name on it. Mm-hmm. Tell me what your initial thoughts were when you see that email, that blast from Curtis, where it's like, Dr. whatever is going to be with Coach Prime on Monday. Like, what were your initial thoughts? And then what was your initial reaction to his reveal?
I mean, obviously scared. We knew something was going on. But at the same time, from everything that we were hearing and video we saw, just him at Big 12 Media Days, I had some optimism that he was doing better. Mm-hmm. Not think he was going to retire, opposed to what a lot of people
despite what the Twitterverse had to say.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, you knew that he was going through something, and kind of in the back of your mind, you're always worried. I mean, cancer, that's the worst disease you could have, obviously. That was always a concern. And then seeing that the doctor was a urological oncologist, it was scary, obviously, that kind of confirmed he did have cancer. And then, he did confirm that it was bladder cancer. Fortunately, had the decision to remove it, still dealing with, some of the issues there with that, obviously. But I mean, it's just impressive that he was diagnosed with cancer, I believe, midway through spring ball, kind of late in spring camp. And then, 3 months later, he beat it. And I mean, just, inspiring. It was emotional in that room for sure. Coach Prime got choked up a little bit. And it was a lot for the first day of fall camp. But, really glad he's doing a lot better. He still has, same old energy. That was really good to see.
Yeah, I think it's crazy to think about how fast, or I guess like how quickly he's returning, right? Because I've seen people sit out longer periods of time for lesser things than cancer, right? And he's like, I just need a porta potty on the sideline, I'll be good to go. And it's like, okay, like he's back, like he's ready, like he just needs a little porta john in the back and he'll be good, right? So I thought that was fun because you could feel the emotion, even if you were watching not from there. I was not there in attendance, but you could feel the emotion. You could feel the pauses in the room, sort of I don't want to say there was gasp because that makes it sound like people were audibly gasping, but like when he first initially revealed it, there was like just a dead silence where it was like, oh, like that's what happened. And so it was very encouraging of him to share that news, that obviously he felt comfortable. It was cool to see that he sort of wanted to take the harder route, I would say, in terms of recovery wise, because he got the surgery rather than going the other treatment route. And he's like, I want to be back. I want to coach. And then I also applaud him for encouraging men specifically, I guess women as well, to get checked out, because obviously I talked about this on yesterday's episode. We as men, we're just like, we're men. We don't need to get checked out. We're good. Like we're manly, right? And it's like, no, we're all human, right? And Deion Sanders is probably, and this is like a crazy thing to say because I don't think people realize this, but there's been billions of people that have lived throughout our history. He's probably one of the most athletic ever, right? That is just how it goes. And even he can have health issues, right? So it was a nice reminder that like, hey, we're all human. Like go get checked out, right? Go do what you have to do to make sure that you could be there for your family, your friends, your place of work, whatever it is. So love that message from him. Talk about your guys' first interaction. You obviously raise your hand and you go, Jack Carlough, Colorado on SI, and he's like, Jack's my man. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, he went over to the doctor. He's like, he's a legend. That was just so cool. So cool. I don't even know. He just likes my name. I honestly just do my best to just be respectful, ask good questions.
Yeah.
Whenever possible. I'm not there to tear. I mean, I'm a CU alum. I'm not there to tear anyone down. These are kids that just graduated high school. I feel like that's kind of been my approach.
Okay.
A lot of media, maybe. I feel like he appreciates that. I feel like we're here again, these are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids fresh out of high school. Just the love. He gave me another like Twitter shout out. A lot of followers there, which is really cool. It's funny because I'm not even like that big on Twitter. Like I don't tweet a lot. My work is just writing stories. Goes out.
Now you just got to fire off the occasional like random tweet. So you're just like, okay, here's my tweet for the week.
Yeah. I just focus, just get the stories out.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see him like give you specifically because you're young. I would say if I had to guess, I'd say you're 21-ish.
25.
25, really? You're young. We're the same age. That's awesome. But like, I mean, you get it then. We're young, right? It's very difficult to find opportunities in the media space. And so for someone of that platform to like bring light or shed light on someone who's doing great work and putting in the effort like yourself, like it's awesome to see him give you that platform or raise your platform, not give you the platform, but raise your platform. And it's awesome to see in terms of his return, because there's two sides to it. Obviously there's excitement, joy and all that because he's back, right? It's like, okay, the fears can go away, the bad thoughts can go away, but now he has a couple jobs at hand, right? What do you think? Like, I'll give you two things that I think are the biggest priorities on the checklist. What do you think is the biggest things to check off the list? I'll go quarterback battle for one. I feel like he has to I don't want to say he doesn't pick it, right? When it comes to position battles, I feel like most of the times it's positional coaches. I feel like quarterback may be different though. Byron Leftwich being there probably helps make it easier to pick. But I feel like picking the quarterback battle and then finding the right offensive line combination is something that I think he is very focused on. What do you have as the two things he needs to check off the list as he returns to work?
Getting the run game going. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah, that'll be in working with Pat Shermer a lot. I think they named Gunnar White the run game coordinator yesterday. Yeah. You saw that. So he'll also be in those discussions a lot. Getting the run game going will be, I think, honestly, number one for me.
Really? Okay.
And then, I like to go off offensive line too. As you said, with the combination.
They brought in like 13 people, right? Or 13 transfers, like a handful of recruit. They need to find one combination that works.
I think it's going to be like 7, 8 guys playing in a game, though, kind of similar to last year. I don't think it's going to be like the same 5 every single week.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a lot of rotations, and at least especially early in the season. I think maybe I'll steal yours there.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I feel like those are probably the things that probably keep him up at night, right? Just trying to figure out like what to do there. So excited to see how things unfold. Obviously, it is July 31st. This episode will be dropping on August 1st. So we're about 28 days-ish from Colorado's first game against Georgia Tech. And I think that's going to be a great test before they really dive into the season. I think it's a rough test, honestly. I would have, if it was Delaware, then Georgia Tech, I would have loved that way more, honestly, just so you could like sort of feel things out and then dive into it. But they're ready for the challenge, and I'm sure they are going to handle it the best they can. Jack, I appreciate you hopping on. Tell the people where they could find you and what you're working on.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Jack_Carlough.
With the C.
CarlougH. And then at Colorado Buffaloes on SI. Follow our work there. We have a great team putting out tons of content there daily. And yeah, check out me at those two places.
Make sure to go check them out. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow over here on Locked On Buffs because the football season is coming and we'll have you covered every step of the way. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week.